Hi, this is Ikenke from Blue Steel Auto School. We've been getting some questions about the difference between the 5-hour and the 6-hour class and the importance of them. What are they for? So this video is to address those questions. So first of all, it's very important, number one, for safety. Right, that's the bottom line, right? Just like when you go to high school or college and you have the science classes, chemistry, biology, physics, you have the lecture portion, which, the lab doesn't help much without the lecture. You have to know what you're doing in the lab. So you could think of the 5-hour class as the lecture. And then the lab is where you put what you learned in the lecture to the test, right? So that's your behind the wheel lessons, right? But you have to have the fundamentals. You have to have the basic information first in order for the lab to make any sense to you, right? So that's the importance of the 5-hour class, right? Just these vehicles are not paper, they're not pillows, right? So if they hit something, they do a lot of damage, and especially if they hit a person, right? So these are deadly weapons. You're being licensed to handle a deadly weapon. And just like a gun, if you don't know what you're doing with a gun, don't touch it, right? Don't pick it up and then you accidentally shoot yourself or somebody that you weren't intending to shoot, right? So it's just common sense. If you get behind the wheel of one of these vehicles and you don't know what you're doing, right? Ignorance is not an excuse. When you have an accident, you can't say I didn't know better, because it doesn't matter at that point, right? The damage is done. You should have known better before you got behind the wheel, right? So it's worse to know the right thing to do and not do it, but when you're dealing with something that's life or death, like driving, you have to know some basic things. If you don't know those basic things, don't get behind the wheel, right? So that's the purpose of the 5-hour class. Now, the 5-hour class is the pre-licensing course. Then you have the 6-hour class. The 6-hour class is the defensive driving class, and the reason for that class is either to get your insurance reduction. Insurance is expensive in New York, so you get at least a 10% discount. Some insurances might give you a little more, but a minimum of 10%. So that helps if you're paying an average of $500 a month. $50 extra a month. I'm sure you could figure out something to do with that, right? And that class is good for 3 years for insurance purposes. Every 3 years, they're going to tell you it's expiring. If you want to keep your discount, you got to do it again, because they want you to stay fresh. They want you to know what it is expected of you, and know or remember the right thing to do. Because what happens is sometimes people tend to develop a lot of bad habits after getting their license. They start doing a lot of things. They start making up things, doing things as they go, and a lot of it is wrong, right? So they want to rein you back in and give you the information that you knew at one point, or you should have known at one point, but you probably started forgetting. And remember, the rules are there for a reason, right? The politicians and the experts, some of these people have been studying transportation for decades, longer than some of you have been alive, right? And they know more than you. They even know more than me. So the laws are there for safety purposes, right? It's not up to you, who, as far as driving is concerned, was just born yesterday. It's not up to you to say, oh, I don't understand that rule, I'm just gonna do what I want. That rule doesn't make sense, right? That's why we have so many accidents, right? So you have to make sure you know the rules, and then once you know the rules, you have to follow the rules, right? So you keep that in mind. That's the reason for the class. The 6-hour class also helps you get points off your license, right? Now, in particular, I should say, it takes points off of your suspension total, right? It does not take the conviction off of your record. So you want to remember that regular infractions like speeding and red lights and stuff like that, reckless driving, cell phones, they stay on your record for 4 years, right? Any alcohol or drug related offenses stay on your record for 10 years, right? So what that means is, if you go to apply for a job, let's say, You go to apply for a driving job. You might not be thinking about it now, but who knows, down the road, opportunity might come up. CDL, TLC, or just normal delivery or something. And you go to apply for the job, and they're going to ask you for your abstract. And even if you've taken the defensive driving class, that infraction is still going to be on your record. Now, it might prevent you from being suspended at that point in time, but it's not going to wipe your record clean. So it's important to understand that. So the best thing to do is just stay out of trouble, right? So the 6-hour class will take up to 4 points off of your license, or off of your suspension total. And I say up to 4 because if you have less than 4, it's not gonna bring you into negative numbers. You can't store points for the future. So it's up to 4 points. All right. So if you have 4 or more, then you'll get 4 taken off. If you have less than 4, whatever you had will come off of your suspension total. And remember, in New York, you accumulate 11 points, you get suspended. So if you're at 9 points and you take the class, then your suspension total will drop down to 5 points. If you're at 3 points and you take the class, you're not going to get -1. You're just going to get those 3 points taken off your suspension total, right? So those are the reasons for the class. Number 1, just knowledge and safety, right? You have to, in order to be safe, you have to know what it means to be safe. You can't be safe and you don't know what you're doing, right? So first you have to know what you're doing. Example right there, you probably saw or heard that car whizzing by. That definitely was not safe, right? So you first have to know what it means to be safe. Then you have to commit yourself to being safe. It doesn't happen through osmosis. You have to make the decision and then take the proper precautions and the proper steps to say, okay, I'm going to make sure I'm doing the right thing, right? And then also you have to keep yourself in condition. I won't go too deep into all the numbers and all that stuff, but just it's hard to be safe if you can't even control yourself, right? So again, drugs, alcohol, even prescription drugs, over-the-counter drugs, be careful with those things because you're not going to make the right choice if you can't even think straight, right? So you want to be aware of those things, right? And you have to make it your responsibility, your duty to be safe, right? After you have an accident, sorry isn't going to bring the person back to life, unfortunately. All right, so just try not to do something that you're going to be sorry for later, right? Makes perfect sense, So I hope that clarifies things. If you have any questions, feel free to let us know. Please like, request notifications, and subscribe. All right. Thank you for your time. Hopefully you learned something. Happy New Year. It's January 2nd. I wish you the best for 2023 and beyond. Take care.